I've been chicken littling a little bit on X and in my videos, trying to tell people that we are in store for, I think, a pretty rough 2026. And I don't fearmonger. I just try to look at things practically. And I'm going to share some things with you in this video to support why I think the way I think I do, why I think the way I do, but also try to give you some practical advice that I'm taking myself to try and dial back costs going to 2026. I believe that 2026 will probably be declared a recession. I believe we're actually kind of already in one right now. This is the bounce, the low, the Biden recession that he kicked down the road. And there's a lot Trump can still do to mitigate the length and the impact of it. And there's a lot we can do, simple stuff, to mitigate the impact of it. But just today, let me go through a couple stories from just today. Dick's Sporting Goods announces closures, with hundreds of Foot Locker stores also set to be closed. Dick's Sporting Goods is gearing up to close several Foot Locker stores just months after scooping up the sneaker chain in a $2.4 billion deal. The retailer didn't say how many locations were going to get the axe, but CEO Ed Stack called the closures a necessary cleanup to keep Foot Locker from weighing down the business in 2026. We need to clean out the garage, Stack says in the interview. Foot Locker, the 51-year-old sneaker seller, operates more than 2,400 stores worldwide, including 665 in the United States. These shops have struggled for years. The core customers tend to be lower income than Dick's Sporting Goods shoppers, and the chain has been hit hard by a softer economy and rapidly shifting sneaker trends, especially from longtime best-selling brands like Nike. I don't know. I buy shoes. I wear them till they fall apart, but I know shoes are some people's thing, and that's okay. We're going to have a bunch of Foot Lockers closed. I'm not surprised. This doesn't necessarily, quote unquote, freak me out, but you're going to have some closures there. Today, also, Apple cuts dozens of jobs in uncharacteristic move as jobs bloodbath spreads. Apple is trimming its sales ranks, a rare move for a company that's long prided itself on employment stability. The iPhone maker is cutting dozens of jobs as it reshapes how it pitches products to businesses, schools, and government agencies. It was reported Monday. Over the past couple weeks, affected staffers have been told, according to the report, the cut hits as account managers who handle big institutional clients and employees who run Apple's briefing centers, the rooms where companies host high-touch demos and closed-door meetings with would-be customers. Multiple sources told Bloomberg they were blindsided by the layoffs. Apple historically avoids broad workforce cuts, and Chief Executive Tim Cook has publicly called the job cuts a last resort. But the iconic tech company now joins a sweeping trend of billion-dollar corporations handing out pink slips right before the holiday season. This year, multiple companies, Amazon, UPS, Intel, Verizon, AT&T, Walmart, Target, Ford, and GM, have all slashed white-collar staff while simultaneously launching internal AI products. That is actually who's been getting hit hardest by all of this, right? At least right now. It's the white-collar staff. It's the probably college-educated, and they're being replaced by AI, or they're getting offshored. That's really what they're either being replaced by AI or they are getting replaced by offshore Indians. It's not known how many people are impacted by Apple's layoff. Well, you said dozens, but I don't know. The bigger picture is everybody's cutting. Now, maybe this is all, trim back after the coup, but look at this. Job apocalypse gathers steam as Americans lose 13,500 positions every single week. Pink slips are piling up. One of the only real-time reads on the economy says that the bleed is speeding up. ADP, the payroll processing giant, reported Tuesday that private companies have shed 13,500 jobs a week since October, a steep jump from the roughly 2,500 weekly losses it flagged in its last update. You went from 2,500 jobs a week to almost 14,000. 700% increase. Well, let's call it 600 is probably fair. 500 to 600% increase in job cuts. And that's every single week. The spike comes as Washington scrambles to reboot its own labor data machinery after America's longest government shutdown stalled multiple key economic releases, with the Bureau of Labor Statistics cornerstone jobs report now delayed until mid-December. I don't expect that to be good, by the way. ADP's unofficial tally has become one of the few clear windows into the labor market. And for workers, the numbers hardly feel like a shock. Layoff tracker challenger Gray and Christmas recorded 153,000 jobs cut in October alone, a staggering 175% jump from the last year and 183% jump from September. It was the sharpest October spike since 2003, when companies were reeling from dot-com collapse. Major employers have added to the drumbeat. Over the past 3 months, Amazon, Apple, UPS, Intel, Verizon, AT&T, Walmart, Target, Ford, and GM all made headlines, slashing staff. Those job losses are starting to creep into the government's latest reporting. Last week, the BLS released its September jobs report weeks later than expected. While the top-line jobs figures outperformed expectations, the data found that more Americans were claiming unemployment checks. Now let's go to the unemployment number, which I want to share with you. Here's the unemployment number as of yesterday. The U.S. job market is deteriorating. The number of Americans receiving unemployment benefits hit $1.974 million people, the highest in 4 years. Now, I know what you're thinking. How many of those are illegals? I don't know. But this is just another reason why we need to seriously ramp up any and all deportations. And we need to do serious audits at every level of government with SNAP and unemployment and figure out who's actually deserving of it. This likely means the unemployment rate is now higher than the reported 4.4% in September, as finding a job is increasingly difficult. U.S. layoffs are running at crisis pace. The companies announced 153,000 job cuts in October, nearly tripling from 2024. It was the worst October in 22 years. Year-to-date layoffs have reached 1.1 million, up 65% year over year, nearing great financial crisis levels. Now, again, I know that look, if I'm wrong, all that you're going to do is save a little extra money. But I'm not an economist. I don't know, I can't look at this and say, well, this is definitionally a recession, but these numbers don't look good. Also, Americans are defaulting at crisis levels. Per Fortune, serious student loan delinquencies hit 14.3% in quarter 3, 2025, while auto loan delinquencies are up to 3%, both the highest since 2010. Now, I know, we need to deport, someone is weird. I was told deporting millions of immigrants would make things better. Well, we need to deport 10 or 20 million. And then there is a time period that needs to pass before we can actually see results. I think deportations are very smart and that they will help the U.S. economy. But again, private payrolls fell by 13,500 jobs a week. That's a lot. 153,000 jobs in October alone. The labor market is losing momentum faster than we think. The labor hoarding era is ending. For the last 2 years, companies held on to workers despite slowing revenue because hiring was just too difficult. This is all correct. Now profit margins are tightening and firms are finally reducing headcount. Small businesses are getting hit the hardest. Hiring plans are at their lowest since 2016. The biggest drop in labor demand since the GFC. Small businesses are the first to cut when the conditions tighten. They employ 46% of all Americans. Wage growth is slowing. Companies are not competing for labor anymore. This usually precedes a rise in unemployment 1 to 3 months later. Recession risks rising. Historically, every period when private payroll drops 4+ weeks in a row lead to either a rate cut cycle, which would be nice, or a recession. Now, you can put things off maybe with rate cuts, but it's not the silver bullet. The problem is we've got too much damn debt. And, writing $2,000 checks to every American, while I understand every American who makes 100K anyway, less than 100K, is great for PR. It doesn't actually solve any problems. We should be using this tariff money to pay down our debt. I know that's not popular because it comes at a time when literally everybody, including myself, could use $2,000 I mean, I'm doing a fundraiser so that we can afford to go to AmFest as a show. Like, it's hit, you know, I've talked about it before. YouTube revenue is down 50%. I laid off almost everybody on my team because I'm betting on 2026 being rough. And the best thing you can do is what I'm doing: reduce costs, do your home repairs now, do your major expenses now, then like go through your credit cards and figure out, hey, how many streaming services am I paying for? 7? How many do I need? 1, 2, cut those other 6. Do I have active gym memberships I'm not using? Do I have, you know, what I always do, I don't know if this is the easiest way, but I usually just lose my credit card and then I realize the stuff that stops working that I actually need. And then suddenly everything's, you know, suddenly my credit card bill's $200 a month less because there's all this stuff that was renewing on my credit card that I didn't even know about anymore. You know, I'm not saying, hey, go buy beans and rice. I'm just saying, hey, I think 2026 is going to be rough. And, you know, maybe don't buy that new boat yet. You know, or buy that, hey, Hockey. Huck's feeling better. Here you go, boy. What's up with you? Did mama give you a bath? You smell like you got a bath. You know, maybe Huck needs to not have raw meat. He needs to go back to kibble. Too expensive. You know, this is, despite all the comments that I know this video is going to have about people telling me I'm crazy and that everything we just need time. That might all be true. But while that time passes, people still have to pay their bills. So my advice is just to be smart with your money. You know, maybe hold off on that vacation right now. Maybe hold off on that boat. Maybe hold off on that new car. Maybe repair your car instead of buying a new one right now. Maybe, again, going through your credit card is just good everyday advice. I just think there's a lot that we can do to try and just in case. Look, if I'm wrong, you'll have a little bit more money in the bank and you go on vacation next year. You literally lose nothing. I hope you're informed by this video. If you were, please do leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, please subscribe or follow down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.